Hello, it is Thursday, and it is Chof Iyar, the 20th day in the month of Iyar, and by the grace and goodness of Hashem, Emetz Hashem, we're going to be learning the fourth and final Shir on this Maimer, Kimei Tzaisecha Me'eretz Mitzrayim, from the Rebbe, Zolgazunz and our Rebbe, from 62 years ago. It's scary to think. 62 years ago, Tov Shin Chai, 1958. And as I explained, I sort of came to a conclusion at a certain point that this rushing and trying to crunch my modem into 2 classes or even into 3 classes by just talking and talking and talking doesn't benefit me. It doesn't benefit the people listening to me. So I'm permitting myself to take my time. What a great revelation, what a great idea, huh? And that's what's going on. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Again, this is a Hemshech, and the way I'm teaching you the Hemshech, the previous class was called Giluyim, Havayid Latata, Havayid Layela, Havayid Atzmos, and this Maimer is called Giluyim versus Atzmos. That even though in the last Maimer we describe everything in steps of divine revelation associated with creation, with Ukiyas Yamsef and Matan Torah, B'kiyas Hanor and Torah Chadash, and this Maimer, new ideas out of which idea of Atzmos. And there were 3 forms for this union of Atzmos. Number 1, Moshe, which we learned a little bit of yesterday and a little bit of the day before. Number 2, Simcha Shel Mitzvah, which we're going to be learning about today. And number 3, Mitzvahs Ein Tzrichas Kavana, which we're also going to be learning about today. But it's the conclusion that's mind-blowing. It's extraordinary. Because the conclusion is that Atzmos is now. And Gili Atzmos is Liyosid. Whereas the Rebbe said in the Maimer, the Nachas Ruach of the Bayrei is Itzted, is now. The Nachas Ruach of the Nivra is the Yasid Lave. Because Atzmos itself will never be known and cannot be known. Atzmos itself is the Kiyum and Mitzvahs of a Yid today. And the different Giluyim of a Malach Kalam and a Sevav Kalam and of a Havayid Letat, of a Havayid Eliyela, and a Havayid Atzmos, which is even higher, which is called Gili Atzmos, is only Gili Atzmos, and it's not Atzmos itself. Now I have to tell you something. Okay, just give me 1 second. I want to see if this class is working. So I need to find my phone. Where is my phone? And I'm going to ask people who are listening if they can see me and hear me. Just 1 second. If you can see me and hear me, please tell me. I don't know what else to ask. Okay, if you are, I don't have my Facebook open because I think I just got a message from somebody. The class is working. Okay, Gleit Hashem is Baruch Hashem. We're on. I don't even know what went wrong this morning, but if it's working, it's working. We don't know why, but it's working. Now, I want to tell you something. In a sentence, what I'm about to say is, I don't know how to explain this. That's what in other words, I'm going to tell you that I don't know. But I'm going to tell you that I don't know like a smart guy, so I'll take 15 minutes telling you that I don't know. Chassidus is built around the principle of mashal and nimshal. That's how Chassidus works. They introduce ideas that are ruchnius, mysticism, mystical, not from this world. And they try to bring them closer to us using metaphor. Of course, the classic metaphor, the basic metaphor, the all-encompassing metaphor is, as the Pasuk says, you study a person, you study people. You study the way a person operates, and you send a lakus. Because like it says in Tanya chapter 3, Nishtal Shalom Mehem, we were created in the image of Elyon, and since we created the image of Elyon, we can extrapolate backwards from Tachtain to Elyon, from understanding ourselves to how these inyanim are l'mayla by the Meimsh. So Chassidus is 50% mashal. I mean, really, it's 50% mashal, 50% nimshal. But it seems that the higher you go, the more difficult, it's common sense, the more difficult it is to provide mashal, and the more concise, the more brief the use of mashal would become. Okay? And I'm going to give you a case in point, which ties into something that was touched on at the end of yesterday's class, and I said then that I would come back to it today. And that is, in general, there's three levels of Ein Sof. There's three types of Ein Sof. Mamala Kalalman, Sevav Kalalman, and what's called Atzmas of Ein Sof. Okay, Atzmas of Ein Sof is introduced in the latter half of the Samach Vov, in the last 50 pages in the old print, I guess 100 pages in the new print, where the Rebbe introduced us to the Etzem of Ein Sof. And of course, the Rebbe's first Maimer Bosel Lagan, in the very, very first page, he reiterates the idea that there's three Madregas of Ein Sof, besides for Yechelis. Three Madregas of Eir, which are Metzias of Eir. Now, when you study Hasidus, for better or for worse, for more or for less, there are three different mishalim, three different mushals for Ein Sof, which, to a considerable degree, in certain specific important aspects, you will find these three mishalim for the three madregas of Ein Sof. When they talk about Mamale Kalamin, the mashal that they will use is Chayes HaNefesh. Just like the Nefesh goes into the Guf, Behis Slapshus and Behis Chalkos, what is Lashon? Mislabish, Misalim, or Misgala, the same is true of Mamale Kalamin. The limited life of the Neshama, the Nefesh, Ruach, and the Neshama, which divides up as it descends from higher to lower and tailored and specialized to various different aspects of the person's Guf. Every single Aver, and there's Ramach Aver in Meshasagidim, has a different aspect of Chayes, and it's mislabish in each part of the Guf in a specialized, in a precise, in a Aver specific way. So the first mashal of Ein Sof is Mamale Kalalman, and of course, like it says in the Chazal, Ma Haneshama Males Haguf Kacha Kadosh Baruch Hu Males Elam. Just as the soul fills the body, as God filled the world. So the mashal and nimshal are parallel, and they've been around for a long time. They're ancient. I'm sorry. There's also in a medrash which the Rebbe once spoke about, Ma Kadosh Baruch Hu Males Elam Kacha Haneshama Males Haguf, which throws a wrench into this whole thing. But that's not for now. If I'm not mistaken, the Rebbe spoke about this. Pashas Vayetze Memches, when he spoke about the Sefer Derech Hamunah. The second madrega is Sevav Kalaman. The mashal for Sevav Kalaman is Eir HaShemesh, sunlight. Why is the mashal for Sevav Kalaman Eir HaShemesh? Because there's only one sun, and it produces one light. And the sun's light, from its angle, makes no adaptation. The sun is not designed to give you one thing and it's something else. To give a green leaf what it needs, chlorophyll, whatever it needs, and to give a person's skin vitamin D. The sun is one. The fact is, people and creations and life take from the sun different things, right? What does the earth take from the sun? The surface of the earth, the globe of the earth, and to some extent the atmosphere. It takes heat. It takes the light of the sun, translates into heat, and it, so to speak, uses it up. It dissipates it. If it's organic, if it's living, it's able to process some of the sunlight and to identify certain wavelengths that will give it certain advantageous properties or chemicals or whatever it is that people need from the sun, including, of course, as we all know, that the sunlight is very, very, very important for what's called photosynthesis, which gives life to all plants. And of course, that great, wonderful, quote, coincidence of nature that the plants eat carbon dioxide and they give out oxygen. We eat oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide. So it's a circle. But for that circle to work, you need to have a certain process that requires water and carbon and sunlight, because the sunlight is going to trigger a certain change that will cause the water to give out the oxygen. Right? Water is made H2O. It's two hydrogen atoms and an oxygen atom. It doesn't need the oxygen, but it needs the hydrogen, and because the solar photons enter into this mix, so it takes the hydrogen and uses it to create the matter of plant, and the oxygen is released, and the Eibush does miracles, which of course people take so for granted, and that's the biggest miracle of all, by the way, that we take it all for granted. But the sun is not in the business of concerning himself with you. The sun's business is to emote, is to irradiate, to shine light. Everything that happens afterwards happens from our end. So it's a mashal for Seviv Kalaman, because Seviv Kalaman is not like the Neshama. Seviv Kalaman does not specialize its investment, giving each creation what it needs. It's one light that comes into the creation, and you take what you can get from it. And like I told you many times in the last few shiurim, the mashal, the lashon from a Malak Kalaman is Gilui and her slapshos, and the mashal for Seviv Kalaman is Helam. What does Helam mean? It is what it is. You take what you can get. Then there's a third mashal for Ein Sof. And the third mashal for Ein Sof is the mashal for Etzem of Ein Sof. Etzem of Ein Sof is not limited, and Etzem of Ein Sof is not even revealed. It is so me'ena moir that just like the moir is a helam ha'atzmi, the oir is a helam be'etzem. In other words, the light emerges, it radiates from the source into the atmosphere, but it's not even tzimtzumed enough to be in a state of gilui. It remains in its atzmistic, in its black light state, as I teach to my students. And the mashal for the third madreg of Ein Sof, the highest of Ein Sof, is chochmas odom toher panav, the countenance of a person's face. And if you'll think about the higoyin, you'll know that that's really the only proper mashal. The only real mashal for oir is chochmas odom toher panav, because the physical sunlight it's kamus. It's the sunlight. The sun gets weaker when the light leaves, and in the mashal of oir, it's only ha'ara and so on. Chochmas odom toher panav means a human being exists. There's no way a person can exist without a face. The only way for anything to exist without a face is to be a matzah b'mtzias. If you're a matzah b'mtzias, a matzias nimtza, you have to have a face. But the face is nothing other than the face of the being that it's facing. I don't mean it facing the opposite, but facing itself, providing face for self. So the face of a person reveals their very, very essence. Why is this the mashal for the highest madreg of Ein Sof? And why is it really the best mashal for Ein Sof? Because in Chochmas Odom Toher Panav, not only is the light not designed to adapt, it doesn't adapt at all. There's no change that happens in a person's face, whether you observe it or you don't observe it. And when you look at a person's face, there's two possibilities. A, you see nothing, which is how it happens most of the time for most of the people. B, if you're sensitive and you know Chochmas Apatzuf, you read the person. But the person is coming to you on their level of etzem. There's no adaptation. The face is not giving you pieces of the person. It's either the whole thing or nothing. And the whole thing as it is in relationship with self or nothing. So the mashal for Mamala Kalaman is Chayes HaNefesh, the mashal for Seviv Kalaman is Eir HaShemesh, and the mashal for Atmas Ein Sof is Chochmas Odom Toher Panav. It tells you nothing and it tells you everything. As it turns out, in Etzem of Ein Sof, there's Kama Madregas. In the level of Ein Sof, which is called Etzem. And remember, we're not talking about Atzmos and Hus. We're not talking about Moed. We're not even talking about Yecholis. We're talking about Oyer. And in Samachvav, they call it Hamshocha V'lo Gilu. It comes out of the Etzem, but it's not even revealed. There's not even tzimtzum enough. The bittul is not taken out of the Oyer that it should be in the Maimed the Matzav of Giloy. The Oyer remains in an Eifen Atzmi. But there's Madregas in Etzem. How are the Madregas in Etzem? So, of course, the idea is that just like we say, I spoke about this in an earlier shiur, and the truth is, I've never seen this explained in Hasidus, and these are kashas to which I have no teretz, and I don't know these things, so I teach them the way I understand them, and I don't understand. I don't know if I'm right. B'chlal. We say Hamoy Hu Be'ezgalus, that the Eibishter himself is present and he's revealed and nobody sees him because he's a state of Helam Be'etzim. Etzem Aved himself is similar to Hamoy Hu Be'ezgalus. It's not Moed, it's Oyed. In other words, it's not built in Metzias, it's Metzias, but it's also the same principle. It's a level of Aved himself that exists everywhere, and it's not adapted for the sake of the world directly, which would mean Gili, or even indirectly, which would mean Helam, but rather it's Helam Be'etzim and makes no adaptation itself in order to be available to the world. It just is. And it is in its state of choshech. It is in a state of absolute hiddenness. What's called Helam Be'etzim, hidden in relationship with self. So Oyed Ein Seif has a similarity to the even Hamoyed Be'ezgalus. Hamoyed Be'ezgalus means he's completely revealed and nobody sees him. Nobody sees it because no one's paying attention. No one's paying attention because there's no eyes to see it. You have to be quiet in order to have it. And I think, and I don't know, but I think the same is true of Ein Seif on the level of Etzim. But it's the closest. There's two madregas. This Etzim of Ein Seif exists everywhere. According to Chassidus, Lei Naga by a Tzimtzum. Tzimtzum doesn't touch it at all. Mamalik Kol Alman is Mamish Tzimtzum. Sheviv Kol Alman is Naga by a Tzimtzum. The Tzimtzum affects Helam. Atmos of Ein Seif is Lei Naga by a Tzimtzum. It comes with the Tzimtzum with zero Shina. It remains exactly the same as it was before. But Beklos is two madregas. And Beklos is a big bad word because there's probably more than two madregas, but for the purposes of this conversation, it's two madregas. How could it be two madregas in Etzim? And the answer is one madrega's Etzim is as it remains in its Etzim. The other madrega in Etzim, to use Yiddish, is via Shel Tzachariber, Shel Tzacharois, in Pnimius Abba, Pnimius Atik. There's a concept in Kabbalah, which is brought in Hasidus, and was mentioned at the end of yesterday's class, that the Pnimius of Chochmah, Hashem plants in the Pnimius of Chochmah the madrega of Etzim Aved Ein Sof. So there's two ideas. There's the inyan of Etzim Aved Ein Sof as it is by itself, and there is the inyan of Etzim Aved Ein Sof as has been planted in Chochmah Pnimius Abba Pnimius Atik. And you scratch your head, and you say, now what could possibly be the difference between this and this if they're both Etzim? And the meaning of the word Etzim means on the one hand it doesn't change at all for the world, so it's not hiding at all. On the other hand, it doesn't change at all for the world, it's not showing itself to the world. If you'll be quiet enough, if you'll be still enough, if you'll be butl enough, you'll sense it. So what's the difference if it's Pnimius Atik or Pnimius Abba, Pnimius Atik, Atik v'shtel tzcharibin and Abba? So this is discussed at Arichas and Samach Vav. He starts off, where does it start off? That I guess Vayishlach, Vayeshev. Yeah, I guess Vayishlach and Vayeshev. And then later on the Hemshech will come up again in Samach Vav, where the Rebbe Rashab introduces us to the idea of Pnimius Abba, Pnimius Atik. And he makes the argument that even though when Atik comes into Hishtalshalos, it remains Etzim. The fact that it's in Lashon Chassidus, as it's Charibig Yeklibin, it was copied and pasted as Pnimius HaChochma means that through Chochma you have a Shaychus to Pnimius Abba. In other words, that even though the meaning of the word Etzim is the only way to know Etzim is to be Etzim, which means nobody knows it. The way Pnimius Atik comes into Pnimius Abba, it can be known a little bit through Abba, whatever a little bit means. As Pnimius Atik is B'mkaimi, you can't know it at all. What's the difference between those two things? I don't know. The Rebbe has a ha'ara, which they're Mitzayin to in the Maimer, in the Sefer Maim Tafshin, page 49 and page 50, where the Rebbe compares it to Chagas of Atik and Chabad of Atik versus Nehi of Atik. I don't have a comprehensive mashal for this. And because I don't have a comprehensive mashal for this, I certainly don't have a comprehensive understanding of the Dibsha. The mashal for Etzim Aved Ein Sof is the face of a person. What does it mean, the face of a person, if you Kleib Tzachariber and Chochma, if we're Bleit B'mkaimi? I don't know what the difference is. So I just spent 10 minutes maybe telling you in a very, very long way that I don't understand Pshat and Maimer. Now, why did I do it? I did it because I don't want to be a liar. I did it because I don't want to, so to speak, cover things over, be dishonest. I said yesterday that it needed clarification, so I'm talking about it a little bit more today. And maybe on a certain level, I'm opening it up. I give you two sources. One is in Samach Vov, Vayishlach and Vayeshev, and then later on in the Hemshech, and then of course the second one is in the Ha'or of the Rebbe's Logazun, and our Rebbe Seif at HaMaimorim Tov Shin, page 49 and page 50. But I'm done. Okay, I'm done with telling you how I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, and now I'm going to take a piece of the Maimel, and I'll tell you the same thing. I don't know what I'm talking about. We're on page 281. Let's start to read. Okay, Pedic Hay, number 5. Based on the Shia we had on Monday, on Tuesday. And the Shia we had on Wednesday, we now understand the Pasuk Hafach Yam Layabasha. First of all, Hashem transformed the sea into the land, which is like Kriyas Yamsuf. But no, Yahweh the Abisha transforms the river into dry land for us to cross. And of course, when he drives out the river, there's 7 Necholim. And then it says, Sham Nismechabai. At that point, we're going to rejoice with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Choshev Kan Gimel Madregas. There's 3 steps in this pasuk. Beseder the Mulmat Olamayla, from a lower level to a higher level. Hafach Yam Le'abasha. The lowest step is when the land is transformed into sea. I'm sorry, when the sea is transformed into land. Ko Yel Kriyas Yamsuf Shayi B'Tzias Mitzrayim. Is what happened? Maybe should split the sea when Maybe gave us the Torah and Har Sinai. Then the number towards Benar, Yahweh B'Ragel, when Mashiach comes, we're going to cross the river also. Kaya B'Ki, Asanat, a reference to the splitting of the river, which happens when Mashiach comes. Shiachon, Legili Pnimius Atera de Yosef, the just like Kriyas Yamsuf, the preparation for Matan Torah, the splitting of the Nahar is the preparation for Terech Hadash, which is going to be the Yosef loving. And this is Kaya B'Ki, Asanat de Yosef, there's a reference to the splitting of the river, which will Mashiach comes. Shehi Achana, which is the preparation Legilui Pnimius Hater Del Yosef, to the revelation of Chassidus, of Pnimius Hater Del Yosef, which is when Mashiach comes. But then there's a third level, which is even higher than the Terech Hadash. Umashikos Sham Nisma. I'm sorry, no, which is the Terech Hadash. Umashikos Sham Nisma, that after the sea splits and the river splits, there is joy. Ko Yalgilui Pnimius Hater Del Yosef. It's a reference to revelation of the inner Torah, which is going to be in the future, which is after B'kiyas Anar. The river is going to split, and then later Hashem is going to give us Pnimius HaTorah, and that's going to be great joy. Move and Al Pi HaMavur, B'kiyas Arizal, so it's in the writings of Arizal. Shekom Mashazach Arizal, the way he explains it. That everything that Arizal experienced was L'gili Pnimius HaTorah, the revelation of the inner dimension of Torah, Ha'isai, the Simcha Shemitas, through joy. Similarly, the Gili Alakus of loss of love, which is even higher than B'kiyas Anar, happens through Simcha. Okay? Three steps. Kriyas Yamsuf, B'kiyas Anar, and then the Nesina Satera after that, which is the Yin of Simcha. Okay, I need a minute. I'll be right back. Okay? I'm not turning off the camera, but I'll be right back. I am sorry about that break. L'chaim. I'm pushing falling asleep. So I took a jolt, see if it works. 3 levels. 3 levels. The first level is Hafach Yam Yabasha, which is reminiscent of Kriyas Yamsa, after which was Matan Torah that's not mentioned in this pasuk. Then there's Bekiyas HaNahar, which is, of course, going to happen when Mashiach comes. And then there's going to be the Simcha. The Simcha means the Gili of Pnimiyas HaTorah. And the Rebbe explains that Pnimiyas HaTorah has to do with Simcha, and he brings from the Arizal that it says in the Helikas Sfarim that all the Madrigas that the Arizal was Zeichet to has a Kaila Idei Simcha Shel Mitzvah. All the levels that the Arizal reached was a Kaila Idei Simcha Shel Mitzvah. Shrein. So let me pause for a moment. It says in Shivchei Baal Shem Tov, which is a very reliable sefer. The Rebbe says it's a reliable sefer. The Rebbe speaks about the Igris, we spoke about in Fabrengenischen. The Alter Rebbe, was the Mordechai Yaffa, was Mordechai Zachosid. He printed the Slavita, in Slavita, I think. The Shivchei Baal Shem Tov. In the sefer Shivchei Baal Shem Tov, it says that all of the Hasogis, all of the Madregis that the Baal Shem Tov reached was a Kail Adei Roiv Tfilis. Baal Shem Tov is a Taival a lot. In Mikveh. And the Kail Adei Roiv Tfilis. I heard from Rabbi Leibel Shapiro Zagazunzan on one of his broadcasts that it was known with the Bachrim that the Rebbe used to Taival a lot, many times. Now the Rebbe, of course, didn't go to Mikveh when we wanted him to, but one time the Rebbe went to Karastidid and the Bachrim were outside, and they tried to count. They could, of course, they went out, the Tfilis. And the Rebbe tabled many, many times, and when the Rebbe walked out, the Rebbe turned to them and he said, how could you count how many tefillas I did? Maybe I did with my finger, and I did more. The Rebbe used to tell people to do 9. I know 2 people, Berel Baumgarten, Olav Shalom, and Rabbi Mendel Tannenbaum told me myself, personally, that the Rebbe told him to do 3 tefillas, dog poshet, dog poshet. 1 vertical, 1 horizontal, another vertical 3 times. But the Baal Shem Tov, and it says in Helikas Sfarim, that the Baal Shem Tov achieved all of his asogis through Reiv Tfilas. By the Arizal, it says, like it's written over here, that the Arizal reached all of his asogis through Simcha Shel Mitzvah. Now, if you're a Lubavitcher, if you're a real Lubavitcher, which means that you know Divrei Arav, the Rebbe's Torah, the Rebbe's Siches, you know that the Rebbe introduced a new Simcha, which is even higher than Simcha Shel Mitzvah, which is called Simcha B'Toharasa. The Rebbe spoke about it. The source of it in Likutei Siches is the Sicha of Purim Cotton, Toiv Leiv Mishte Tamid, the Chil zwischen Rambam mit Ramah, and then of course Tavshim Ches Pashas Kiseitze. But if you're really into how the Rebbe teaches us how to think, you know this, that even higher than Simcha Shel Mitzvah is a higher Simcha, which is called Simcha B'Toharas. But this is a detail. What I want to say is that it's interesting that we all know that the Alter Rebbe was Talmud Tamid Shel Baal Shem Tov, and Chassidus Chabad is who he tells Baal Shem Tov Zal. But I don't think there is a question that in Chabad there was much more a koch and simcha than there was in Tefillah. Certainly for this Inyan. In other words, even though L'chayda the Baal Shem Tov is closer to us, and if you've ever met non-Lubavitcher Chassidim who are Erlich Yidden, they're very into mikveh. They have Tefillah, some of them. The Baal Shem Tov, durch die große Sachen, durch Reiv Tefillas. But that Arizal accomplished it to Simcha Shel Mitzvah. I don't think it's even a question that in Chabad there seems to be more a kinship with the Arizal than the Baal Shem Tov in this prat. The idea that through Simcha you can push it come to Hasogis. A person who's Sameach, which means he's humble and getting past himself, is a Keli for Lakus. His mind, his heart is open to have Hasogis Ruchniyos. I mean, we're not Arizal, we're not, we're Pashat to mention, but even in our level, Simcha is a vehicle, is a medium for a healthy life, as a psychologist will tell you, but simcha is a medium for being on a higher level, to some kind of clarity and inspiration, which adds to a person something which is more than the person naturally has, or more than the person naturally is. So I'm just mentioning this. What the Rebbe says here is that the pshat shom nismach aboy, that after bekiyas hanor, which is the breaking the barrier of machshava, as the Rebbe said yesterday, to allow etzem to be revealed, or Rebbe called gilui ha'atzmos, the actual gilui ha'atzmos itself is through simcha, simcha shel mitzvah. So I just needed to say this, okay? Now the Rebbe is now going to tell us that there's two simchas shel mitzvah. And for the purposes of full disclosure and purposes of doing myself a favor, I want to also say that the two concepts of Simcha Shel Mitzvah are going to parallel the two concepts of Moshe Rabbeinu that we learned yesterday. Yesterday we learned the top of page 281, and then we jumped to the top of page 284. And in both of these places, a distinct impression emerges. If you ask the question, is Moshe higher or lower than Mashiach? The answer is, it depends. In Giluyim, Moshe is lower than Mashiach. In Atzmos, Mashiach's inyan is only Gilui ha'atzem, and Moshe's inyan is Etzem himself. Because Moshe is now, and now is Etzem. The Rebbe is now going to say the same thing about Simcha Shel Mitzvah. Simcha Shel Mitzvah brings Gilui ha'atzem. In other words, a person has Simcha to have great hasogis, Shom Nismoch Aboy, and Simcha Shel Mitzvah motivates Kabbalah Sel Malchus Shamayim. And the argument is going to be that the motivation of Simcha Shel Mitzvah, Kabbalah Zeh Malchus Shamayim, this is Atzmos Mamish. And the Simcha Shel Mitzvah, which motivates the Hasogith, which is going to be Liyosid Lovei, Shom Nismach Aboy, this is the Gilui HaAtzmos. And in this Maimed, the Rebbe is going to separate Gilui HaAtzmos from Atzmos. He's going to say Gilui HaAtzmos is Liyosid Lovei, Atzmos is now. Gilui HaAtzmos is Gilui, it can be revealed, it can be experienced, and Atzmos remains Betzahel. So let's go. Have a question. Whereas, in as much as that Arizal had Simcha Shel Mitzvah, and the Simcha Shel Mitzvah allowed him to experience Hasogis, Ruchnius, of Eir Seichel Eliki, of Pnimius HaTeira, Muchach L'Chayra. This indicates, this proves, this establishes, arguably, that the revelation of Pnimius HaTeira is L'mayla Mi Simcha Shel Mitzvah, is even higher than the Simcha. Why? Because when you have a cause for the purpose of an effect, when you do A for the sake of B, B has to be more valuable than A. The revelation of Pnimius HaTeira is like a reward, so to speak. First you have the right disposition. First you have the right mood. First you have the right mindset. Or to say it in plain English, first you have to get over yourself, vergessen wegen sich, which is the basis for Simcha. And then there's room for Lakus. So the argument is that the Simcha Shel Mitzvah is lower, and the Hasaga Laki, or the Gilui HaEtzem, is higher. But Le'idach, on the other hand, how do you do? It's also known, Shakol when you have a cause and effect, even though you have a cause and an effect, you do the cause for the sake of the effect, but on the other hand, if the cause causes the effect, has to be stronger than the effect. These are two sides of a coin, which of course are brought in Mamori Chassidus. You can see them on a Makamis, footnote 43, these are ideas that Rebbe talks about a lot. When one thing is a cause for something else, it has to be higher than it. In other words, the very fact that the power of A is to cause and bring about B, it proves that A itself is it has to be greater than the B which comes through it. Which is why, which is how A is able to motivate B. So you just have two opposite things. And they're not mutually exclusive, they're just two truths. People do things for the purpose of an end result. So they're interested in the end result. So the end result is more important than why the motivation. But if people do something to get to an end result, the cause that leads to the effect has to be stronger than the effect. But I had brought it about. So when you're talking about Simcha Shel Mitzvah and Hasogis, Which is higher, the simcha shel mitzvah, the hasaga? Let's keep reading. Accordingly, it turns out, simcha shel mitzvah, the joy of a mitzvah. Simcha me'etzem kiyamais mitzvah. It's the joy that one gets from simply doing the mitzvah. Hilamaila has to be higher than, turn the page 282, Migili Pnimius Ateirat Nechsidus, which is going to come from. And the Rebbe's conclusion is going to be that they're both true. Simcha Shel Mitzvah is higher than the schar of Simcha Shel Mitzvah. No, the Hasaga Lakis, understanding godliness, is higher than Simcha Shel Mitzvah, and Simcha Shel Mitzvah is higher than Hasaga Lakis. Hasaga Lakis is higher than Simcha Shel Mitzvah because the purpose for Simcha Shel Mitzvah is to get to Hasaga Lakis. And Simcha Shel Mitzvah is higher than Hasaga Lakis because it brings it about. What's going to be the issue? The issue is, in terms of Giluyim, Simcha Shel Mitzvah is lower and Hasaga Lakis is higher. In terms of Etzem, Hasaga Lakis is lower and Simcha Shel Mitzvah is higher. In terms of a connection between a person and Hashem, that a human being can feel, the joy of a mitzvah brings us to having an intimacy with Him, which is called the Gili Pnimius Ateirat. And in terms of the relationship that we have with Him, which is beyond our field, because it's Etzem itself, the Simcha Shel Mitzvah is higher than anything you're able to experience. Now, you could argue that it's two different Simcha Shel Mitzvah. You could also argue that it's the same Simcha Shel Mitzvah, but it's two angles. The hasaga that comes from Simcha Shel Mitzvah in terms of Pnimius is higher than the Simcha Shel Mitzvah itself. The Etzem of Simcha Shel Mitzvah is higher than any hasaga because it's an inyan. So you could say a person is sameach because he's learned chassidus, and that simcha brings a learning more chassidus. That Simcha Shel Mitzvah is lower than the tani which comes after. Versus a yid does a mitzvah with Kabbalah Seil with simcha, that simcha is higher. But you could also say that it's the very, very same simcha. It's two different angles, and that's the mindset of this maimon. And again, to be contextually consistent, it's exactly what we said yesterday about Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, in terms of Giluyim, is lower than Mashiach, because Mashiach is Gilui Ha'etzem. Moshe Rabbeinu is only Yid. But Moshe Rabbeinu, in terms of Etzem, is higher than Mashiach, because Moshe Rabbeinu gave Nigla the Torah, which is the basis for Halacha, which is the basis of Ma'aseh B'Poel, which we do with a Kabbalah Seil, which is Atzmos. And just like Moshe has two angles, so does Simcha Shel Mitzvah. And the Rebbe continues page 282, and he asks the same question using classic language. Gam tzarich lahavin, I have a question additionally. Now, this question may have been asked on page 277. When the Rebbe said that if Kriyas Yamsuf and Yetzias Mitzrayim is the beginning of the process, Kol Cholos Kosher, the beginning of the process has to be most important. Here he says it using a Maimon Mishnah. That Yafa Shachas V'Tshuva Ma'aseh B'Elam, that's prettier and more valuable. The tshuva and good deeds one does in Elam Hazeh in 1 hour, Mikol Chay Elam Haba, than the entire phenomena of Chay Elam Haba. Chay Elam Haba has many levels. There's Gan Eden, and there's Yimei Mashiach, and there's Elam Haba. And 1 hour of Torah mitzvahs in this life is greater than all of that on all levels. And he explains the Pirush Kol Chay Elam Haba, when the Mishnah says all levels of Elam Haba, it includes Taka all levels. Hainu Kol HaMadreges Shel Elam Haba, every possible level in Elam Haba. What's the lowest levels of Elam Haba? Gan Eden. Or as it says in Rambam, Gan Eden doesn't mean the world which is going to be after this one. It exists now also. Now, but then it's called Elam Haba because it's not here right now. And then, of course, higher than that you have Gan Eden Ha'elyen. But then you have Madreges Yesa Nilas. Higher than Gan Eden, there's other things of Elam Haba. B'yas HaMashiach is higher than Gan Eden. B'yas HaMeisim is higher than B'yas HaMashiach. And the Rebbe continues and he says, Tzadikim Ein LaMenucha is even higher than that. Yom Shekulei Shabbos HaMenucha is even higher than that. So how many levels did he mention? Gan Eden, B'yas HaMashiach, B'yas HaMeisim, Ein LaMenucha, Yom Shekulei Menucha. Says the Rebbe, L'mayla Yes, and above all, L'mayla Yes even higher than this. Shalzeh Nemer, above all of these levels, Gan Eden and Yemei HaMashiach, and B'yas HaMeisim, and Ein LaMenucha, and Yesh LaMenucha, is Alzeh Nemer, Yafa, Shah, Achas, V'Tshuva, Ma'aseh Teir, B'Elam Hazeh, Mekol, Chai, all these levels of Elam Haba, 1 hour of Torah mitzvah in the physical world, is Kol Chai, was even high. Like I told you yesterday, the For 10 kopes, can I give my tzitze? For 10 cents, you can buy a tzitze. But for the 10 kopes, after the neshama rois gain, to get those few pennies to buy a tzitze, to do a mitzvah, get the rois the neshama. V'hainu, in other words, the option is by notwithstanding that we explained. Gedel milas haflos pnimius haterush et galal yosid. How great and wondrous will be the revelation of godliness represented by the Torah Chadasha Me'iti Teite, the new Torah, which is novel to the times of Mashiach. At the same time, Yesh Maila Yesera, there remains an advantage, there remains an upside to Tshuva Ma'asim Tevim Be'elam Hazeh. What we do now in this imprecise world, in our imprecise existences, in our golus, in our inconsistencies. I want to say the word hypocrisy without feeling too guilty. I say inconsistent. Inconsistent is a hypocrite. That's golus. That's golus, chalaim, shina, like it says in the Maimon. Notwithstanding how great the revelations will be then, and how imprecise and inexact our Avodas Hashem is now, there's something about now that's greater than then. Why? Because now we do it. And doing it is greater than experiencing its reward. In terms of experience, we have no experience. They have tons of experience. But in terms of delivering it, it's dafka now. It's even higher than the revelation of Pnimis of Ilas Love. As Rabbi just said in the previous page, there's two concepts of Simcha Shal Mitzvah. That Simcha Me'etzem Kiyama Mitzvah. There's a Simcha Mitzvah which motivates Hasaga Lakis. And then there's Simcha Shal Mitzvah which motivates a Maisa B'Payah. So when Simcha motivates Hasaga Lakis, the Hasaga Lakis is higher than the Simcha Shal Mitzvah. And when Simcha motivates a Maisa B'Payah Mamish, the Maisa B'Payah, this Simcha Shal Mitzvah is the highest in you. The said on the previous page, the highest kind of joy is not the joy from understanding and feeling and experiencing. The highest kind of joy is by accepting. Is even higher than the highest revelations of things. The Rebbe says unequivocally that now we can do a mitzvah, we have a tzitzit, and we're getting something which lost loving no matter what we do, no matter how much we're master, how long, how high the madregas are, we're not going to have. I apologize. Sivov, page 282 in the middle. This can be explained by prefacing a machlekes in the Gemara. He's mitzayin to Pesachim B'Kuf Yudalid, but this Gemara is more than one place in Shas. In mitzvahs tzriches kavana or in ein tzriches kavana. When you do a mitzvah, is it necessary to have a kavana or not? Now, of course, you know there's something called kavana klos and kavana pratis, right? One kavana is Hashem kedeshanu b'mitzvaysav. Hashem told me to eat matzah or to eat morer, which is, of course, the context of this Gemara. Kavana means I'm intending to eat matzah because Hashem said. Ein tzriches kavana means I'm eating matzah. How do they say it? Misasik, without any attention. And there's a shayla for Makayim Mitzvah Chilas Matzah. There's a shayla for Makayim Mitzvah Chilas Morer. Then in addition, there's another kavanah, what's called kavanah pratis. That's not stam, I'm having intention to eat matzah because Abisha said. But matzah represents emunah, matzah represents refuah and tshuva, matzah represents bittul and so on. This is another kavanah, right? So here he's speaking halachically, kavanah means that I'm intent on doing this because God said. Mitzvah tzrichas kavanah, so the machlekes in the Gemara of tzrichas kavanah. There's 2 days. Now what's unusual about this machlekes is that it's not only a machlekes in Shas, a machlekes Rishonim, right? In other words, usually in the Gemara you have different opinions, and then in the Poskim, they agree. This becomes a machlekes which goes from the Gemara to the Rishonim. The Rishonim argue about this. Chayes was the Rambam and the Rashba, and then it comes all the way to the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. The 2 days of mitzvah tzrichas kavanah or not. But Chassidus spins it deeper. Right? This is a mind from the Mittler Rebbe, right? The Hemshech of the Mittler Rebbe. But you have this in Samachay, you should know. I didn't look it up, but in Samachay, this sugi is found a bit anders, wie es da. That the argument is not whether you need kavanah or you don't need kavanah. The argument is, are you better off with or without kavanah? There's a day that says that the best way to do a mitzvah is not to have a kavanah. And there's a day that says the best way to do a mitzvah is yes to have a kavanah. Now, once you add this dimension, that the machlokes is not whether you need kavanah or don't need kavanah, but the machlokes is whether you're better off with the kavanah or you're better off without the kavanah, then l'chayre you have to say that the machlokes is about kavanah pratis. that I'm doing a mitzvah. I got it, I'm doing a mitzvah. But is it better that I understand why I'm doing the mitzvah? I don't know if you listened to the Tillim share this morning. One of the ideas that Dama had to share was infant time the reasons for mitzvahs. Are you better off with the reason, or are you better off without a reason? And the middle Rebbe says there's Hameroyim who hold, not mitzvahs ain't tzrichas kavana. Mitzvahs don't want kavana because kavana takes away from the mitzvah. Because when you do a mitzvah and all you know is God said that's the highest thing. Let's read it now inside. What are they arguing about? Mitzvahs, about what's the best way to do a mitzvah. Again, apin nigle, it's whether you could do a mitzvah with mesasik and you yaitze, or you have to have kavanah. Mesasik means I'm eating matzah. It happens to be Pesach that I'm a kaim the mitzvah. I'm eating mar. It happens, or the classic examples. I'm a sefer and I'm fixing a Megillah, and it happens to be Purim, and I read the Megillah system. I yaitze or not? And every mitzvah has to have a kavanah klolis. The Chassidish duality about mitzvah tzrichas kavana or ain't tzrichas kavana, not if it needs, if it doesn't need. Is it better with it or is it better without it? Is about the kavana pratis l'cha'ira. The first opinion is sha'ilu became a mitzvah. The preferred way, the better way to do a mitzvah is kasha yesh bahem kavana, when you have a proper intent. Because when you do a mitzvah with kavana, nasis kiyum mitzvahs be'efanali areas, the mitzvah is more wholesome. Why? Lefisha oz nasa kiyum mitzvahs bechayis and the mitzvahs chayis. I'll tell you, brings down that it's part of the Eibishter's ratzon that there should be a kavana. V'deya hasheni, and the second opinion is shamay las kiyum mitzvahs he, what makes mitzvahs better. Lay mitzvah kavana is not that I know what the mitzvah means and I have chayis because I know what it means. Ki im, rather guf ki yomais ha mitzvah, the actual fulfillment of a deed of a mitzvah. So you have 2 days over here, 2 days. One day it says you want to do a mitzvah on the highest level, understand what it means and get chayis from it. And the other day it says you want to do mitzvah on the highest level, forget the kavanah, just do what the Eibishter said. Everybody agrees. The most important thing is the action of the kavanah, not the intent. And then if a person sits and meditates all day long about tefillin or matzah, whatever the case is, but Eine Eisas a mitzvah pale, he fails to do the mitzvah actually, says the Heilik Rebbe loy kiyem es a mitzvah, he didn't accomplish anything. You got to do the mitzvah ma'aseh pale. If a person did the mitzvah and didn't have kavanah, so even according to the day that says it's better off with kavanah, but without the kavanah, you're yaitze the obligation of doing the mitzvah, even though in the lashon hara he's mitzayin tanya perek lamed. This is the bilti mugad de kamayim. He's mitzayin perek lamed ches tanya that it's mitzvah b'lei kavanah kaguf b'lei neshama, but it's a guf. Allah plukti. The argument is this. Shaladeya Aleph, one opinion holds. On page 282, it's 8 lines from the bottom. Hamaylehi, the higher level of the mitzvah, is kasha nesif la'maisiv b'pel yesh gam ha'kavana, that it actually comes with the kavana, it enriches it. Well, the other opinion holds. Hamaylehi, the highest way to do a mitzvah, is bekiyum ha'mitzvah atzma, just doing it without fancy kavanas, with the tmimas. Says the Rebbe, what's the machlekes? What's the b'lishutase? What are they arguing about? And of course, I'm terrible at suspense, I won't keep it. They're arguing about Geluim and Atzmos. And because they're arguing about Geluim and Atzmos, not really arguing, because it's 2 different things. Kavanas HaMitzvahs is incredibly important, but it only enhances the Geluim. Maisa HaMitzvahs is not a Gili, you're not going to experience it, but it's Atzmos. So from the angle of Atzmos, Mitzvah ain't tzrichas Kavanah. And from the angle of Geluim, Mitzvah tzrichas Kavanah. And guess what? The Eibishter wants both. And again, ironically, the way this Maimah plays it out, Atzmos is now, Giluyim is Liyasad Love. Gili Atzmos is Liyasad Love. The Hine, Mitzat Kavanas HaMitzvah, because the minute a mitzvah has a reason, all mitzvahs are different, because they have different intentions. The purpose of meaning mitzvahs is for the purpose of creating clarity in the Eibishter's world. In other words, we do the various different mitzvahs. Being clarity to the physical things that we're using in the performance of these mitzvahs. And accordingly, every mitzvah, there's something separate by itself. Kivon shekol mitzvah peyelas b'irache, because each mitzvah has a different effect. Moreover, in Yana mitzvahs k'meishem l'mayla mina birudim, this mitzvahs were higher than the level of birudim. For example, mitzvahs yasir after Mashiach come that the mitzvah going to be like Yana birudim. And in Yana mitzvahs here only the yachid yechudim al yen resek of yechudim. Top of page 23 now. Hine gam be'in Yana yechudim. If you say that I'm doing mitzvah for the sake of creating yechudim l'mayla l'mata, how they call yichud inyan b'fniyat. If a mitzvah has different kavanah, different yichud. V'nimtza sheshes chalkos b'ha mitzvahs. In terms of kavanah, there's differences. If a mitzvah has something else. Now, what's interesting what the Rebbe does here, and again, I'm assuming that this is based on the Mittler Rebbe, but I didn't look, so I don't know. There's many madregas in Kavanah. I spoke about this morning in the Tilim class, Kufya Tests, class 21. I'm holding Ois tests. We are geniuses at making it last. L'chaim. I'm sorry. In Sifrei Chakira, there's two kavanas, Beklalas. And some of the Tanya mentions it in Igesh Kedesh Chav Beis. The Rebbe mentions one of them. It's a Rambam in Pirush HaMashnah. It's a novice. Midas Tevis. Kala Teira Kula is Midas Tevis. Such a good character. A second Madrega Mitzvah, which is also discussed in Chaykim, the Rasag and the Rambam, is Deis Nechenes. To develop good ethos, good values, good philosophy. Higher than those two is Yechudim. That Laskon Raza Dishmei, to complete that Tzilas. When we do mitzvahs, HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'nei Tefillah, more oil comes. The Kelim of a Tzilas are expanded and more oil comes. Higher than that is Birudim. Because Birudim is Veistach. What's it, the Lashon? Lenitna mitzvahs el letzara b'hemes abriyas. Letzara b'hemes abriyas goes on Birudim, even l'siyam meshakela, which is higher than Yechudim. Higher than that is Tshuva. Higher than Tshuva is Nisyenis. Each time for mitzvahs is in a different Maimach Siddha. And then, of course, higher than even Nisyenis is in Yavdira B'tachtainim. And just the Etzaminyan, which you can see soon in our Maimer, of Nachas Ruach Lafonei Shamarti V'Nasas, and the very fact that God said and we listened. So there's many kavanas. The Rebbe brings two here. Birurim and Yechudim. And he says that Birurim is lower than Yechudim, even though if you look at the Maimorim, which speak about the Inyonim, the Mashal, there's a Mugadik, a Maim, and a Satel Ariyecha Tov Shalom Advov. It's based on three Maimon that was joined together into one. The Rebbe says that Birurim is higher than Stam Yechudim, I think. So he chooses two, and he puts Birurim before Yechudim. These are all questions that I'm sure have answers. It's just curious to note what the Rebbe notices. He could just as well have brought Midas Tevis. He could just as well have brought Deis Nechenes. He could just as well have brought the Yinat Tshuva, the Nisyenis. The Nekuda is every mitzvah has a different kavanah, because every mitzvah, and each one of these levels has a different aspect. Each Yichud is different, each Bidur is different, each Midas Tevis is different, each Deis Nechenes is different, and so on. So the Rebbe says if you're doing a mitzvah for a reason, every mitzvah has a different reason. And if every mitzvah has a different reason, it's impossible to say they're the same. It's impossible. Which is higher, which is lower, and of course the answer could be it depends, but it's not the same. However, says the Rebbe Aval, on the other hand, second line from the top of page 283. Etzem ha-mitzvah, one does a mitzvah level of etzem, for the sake of the mitzvah alone, she'ein a mitzvah da-kavana, where there's no focus on what the mitzvah means. Says the Rebbe, who in kiyama mitzvah kabbalah. This doesn't mean I'm a sasek. It doesn't mean I'm not paying attention. It means I'm just not thinking what the mitzvah means. I'm just know that Hashem said, medaf and fold, like the famous story with the Friedrich Rebbe. It's one of those very compelling and almost uncomfortable stories. The Friedrich was a little boy, and his father told him how to wash negel and he told his father farvos. Why? To put your medani, put your hands together. Ben Yed said medani. He said why? So the Rebbe Rashab told the Friedrich Rebbe to call a Mesharis, an old man who lived in the house, so he came in, and the Rebbe Rashab asked him how he does Netilas Yadayim, how he does Negelvas, Meidani. So he told him, I sit up, I put my hands together, I bend my head a little, say Meidani Lefanach. So the Rebbe Rashab said, Farbos, and why? Because that's what my father told me. And the Rebbe told him to go, and he turned to the Friedrich Rebbe. Why? As it me gehes. Mit der Folgen. Wir wissen mit der Folgen. This is Kabbalah sale. And Kabbalah sale, all the mitzvahs are equal. And of course, the key to Kabbalah sale is the surrender. Whatever you say, I'll do, because I don't trust what you're telling me. I'm trusting that you are telling. Like it says in Hasidus, Kabbalah sale is really one Kabbalah for all 613 mitzvahs. Says the Rebbe, Ein bazeh chalkas kal. Here there's no divisions. V'hainu, this means, they call mitzvah nasa pulachar. The fact is, physically, each mitzvah accomplishes a different physical act. And you have to presume that spiritually it's also true. But his kavanah is one. Whereas that the performer of this mitzvah is having a basic kavanah, no matter what mitzvah he's doing. Who echad is one and the same. In Kabbalah Seil, there's no divisions in the mitzvahs. So the machlokes about kavanah or not kavanah is whether you should focus on the aspect of the mitzvahs which is prat, or you should focus on the aspect of the mitzvahs which is klal. I got an itch, and it's a bad itch. It's not a good itch. I shouldn't have it, but I have it. So I'm going to scratch it. I'm going to say something now for a few minutes. What I'm about to say is not at all in this maimer. In fact, it contradicts this maimer. But I got an itch. So I'm throwing this out there for the memulachim just to have a perspective. And you must understand that our maimer is not going in the direction that I am now saying. But I'm saying it anyway. In some maimorim it's brought. And I think one of them is the Shvuas, Ranat. Shvuas Ranat, Mistam. About Muhammad and Cherev Shal Shalom and Shalom. I think it's Shvuas. It's an Anat and it's in Tavshin Dalad, Yutas Kislev, yeah? Where the Rebbe explains that there's two things in Etzem, Tainug and Rotz. And Tainug is higher than Rotz. But the difference between Tainug and Rotzen is like a fist. Everything is one. And Tainug is like fingers, everyone is distinctive. In other words, there's a madrege where Taimei HaMitzvahs is even higher than Rotzen. And this madrege where Taimei HaMitzvahs is higher than Rotzen Elyon, Take, there's a different kavan in each one. It's only that Taimei HaMitzvahs leiden is gal, so we don't know the real reason. In other words, our Maimed is arguing that mitzvahs tzriches kavana diversifies the mitzvahs. Mitzvahs ein tzriches kavana, or if I may say so, ein roitzois kavana unifies all the mitzvahs. And of course, we're going to say, that's how I'm going to go, that mitzvahs on the level of Kabbalah Seil is going to be higher in Atzmos than the mitzvahs of kavana, which is going to be only in Gilui. So my itch is that in some places it says Tainug is higher than Ratzon and Dot Nedafkeda is Chalkos. But it's not in this Maimer. So I'm saying this to get rid of my itch. And now, if you don't like the fact that I scratched myself, put it aside, and we'll go back to our Maimer. The big distinction between a mitzvah done with intention. We have divisions, mitzvahs, as opposed to the preferable performance of the mitzvahs. Where no diversification, no distinctions exist. It's like the difference between the revelations that are going to happen after Mashiach comes. Emphasis on the word revelation, where each mitzvah gets a different gilim. After the work we do now, emphasis on now, that's primarily not in terms of the experience of the revelation of godliness. Now we do mitzvah Kabbalah Seil. Das heißt also, now the strength that we have is to submit to Hashem. The strength that we're going to have is to experience Hashem. Experiencing Hashem is much richer than just submitting to Hashem. Experiencing to Hashem has many different experiences. Submission is one thing. I submit. But submission is more emes. So now we have a basic submission that in terms of Giluyim gives us nothing, but in terms of Atzmos it's the closest thing. Also, we're going to have a very rich inyan of Yiddishkeit, a very diverse inyan of Yiddishkeit, but we're not going to have the mile so much of the bittul, of the submission. Says the Rebbe, this explains the reason. The splitting of the river also means 7 divisions, 7 tributaries, 7 streams. Because the whole Mashiach is Gilu, including what's called Gilu HaAtzmos. But Gilu HaAtzmos is Gilu and not Etzem. The minute you're talking about experience, there's different experiences. As opposed to when the Abishah gave us the Torah after Kiyas Yamsuf in the year 2448. The guy that is primarily about the revealed Torah. What's the revealed Torah? God says what to do, and we do what He says. The primary in Matan Torah is for the sake of the work we do today, which is just doing the mitzvahs because He said Shalamal Mischalkos. Accordingly, there's only one split. So the Rebbe is saying it's the hemshech to the last Maimer. He said the same thing. That Mikiyas Yamtov is one split. That was a secondary union. But in the previous Maimer, remember the previous Maimer, why is only one Bikiyah? The previous Maimer didn't speak about Atzmas. It spoke only about Gilui. And if I was a gambling person, and I'm not, I would say that the previous Maimer is the middle Rebbe's, and this Maimer is our Rebbe's. Since in the previous Maimer spoke only about Giluyim, when he said, how come by Yitzias Mitzrayim is only one split, he says, because it was Koydem Matan Torah. And they didn't have the Torah to prepare to receive the Torah, so it was only Hachana Klolos. And Bekiyas Hanor is after they got the Torah, that's why it can be divided up into 7. Here the Rebbe brings the same kasha, but a very different teretz. You know why before Matan Torah is only one split? Because it was Atzmas. Not because it was Koydem Matan Torah. Because it was Atzmas. And Atzmas is higher than Giluyim, but Atzmas is one. You see how these two Maimonim interface. It's a hemshech. One Maimon and then a second Maimon. But the Rebbe is not continuing what he said before. He's almost contradicting what he said before. He's completing the previous Maimon. And I marvel at these Maimonim. You know what I marvel at? Bachram sit in yeshiva, and I'm a Malamed. I teach Chassidus for the last 25 years, 30 years. What do I teach? Maimonim from the Rebbe Rashab. I'm teaching on Tzemach Tzedek. I used to have a sheet every year to a sefer at Maimonim of the Rebbe. And I gave it up. I gave it up because it's too difficult. But the Maimonim of the Rebbe are so incredible. And they are, you don't want to use about a Rebbe such atheist. They're creative. They're full of chidushim. He takes a Maimon from an earlier Rebbe, repeats it, and then spins it and shows you a depth or a dimension which is not in the original. And it's so tzniistic. And you know, the Rebbe spoke about the Friedrich Rebbe. And the Friedrich Rebbe told stories. Stories? What stories? A very sick Vidila tells us. The stories the Friedrich Rebbe told are like the stories of Sefer Bereshis. The stories, they're Sefer HaYosha. The whole Chassidus is in these stories. Not the history of Chassidus. The life of Chassidus and Chassidim are in these Sipurim, are in these stories. Friedrich Rebbe told stories. So the Rebbe said there's no greater bizbuz or oasis than this. A Yid sits and sells stories. And in these stories is revealing really Eid Atzmi. And people say, Maisis. This is how the Maimonim of the Rebbe are. You ask a Lubavitcher, what's the Rebbe? The Siches. Rashi Siches, Rambam Siches, Zayir Siches, Hadronim, Feld Siches. Rambam. Yeah. What about Maimonim? Yeah, it's Chazorah from the Rebbeim before. It's really not true. It's really not true. He takes Maimonim from the earlier years, and he repeats them. And in the earlier years, he used to repeat them like this one. In longhand, he would say the Maimon as the Maimon is written in its original. Like I told you in the beginning of the last Maimon. It's tamtastic, but it's very clear. But then the Rebbe has his what do they call it? You go to a chiropractic, you an adjustment, and it's a new dimension. So in the last Maimon, Kriyas Yamsuf B'Ki is 1, because it's only B'Kidam Antera Achon Klolos. Also, Love is B'Ki is 7, because there's different timing after you got the Torah. And in this Maimon, Kriyas Yamsuf is only 1, because it's Kabbalah Sales Atzmos. There's only one God. There's one submission. B'Kiyas Hanor is 7, because it's talking about Kavanah. And like I said earlier, in this Maimon, there's 2 Kavanas. There's Birurim and Yichudim. Although in other Maimon, there's many more Kavanas. Next paragraph. Therefore, it turns out like this. When you're talking about in terms of experiencing, Giluyim means what you're able to experience. God, La Maila, the Yosef ben Arech, certainly after Mashiach comes, and Elam Haba, and you was that Bias HaMashiach, and Chias HaMesim, and Ein Lehem Menucha, and Yesh Lehem Menucha, all the Madrigas that Rebbe said on the previous page, top of page 282. La'asad, Lavid ben Arech, after Mashiach is going to be much more than now. And Kol Mokem says the Rebbe, as I said on the top of the previous page 282, there's something advantageous about what we're doing now. And of course, now means saves Managolos. Every minute that a Yid sits in America, in his quarantine, behind his closed doors. He's Makaya, but Elyon, he's Mamshach Atzmas Amhus. Maybe he's not Magala Atzmas Amhus, but he's Mamshach Atzmas, and the Atzmas Amhus is he's Mamshach is more than any Gil that'll be Yasad Lavi. For Ta'amad Davar is the reason the teacher Binyan Kavanas Ham Mitzvah talk about the meaning of mitzvahs, which is Al Derech HaGilui L'Yasad, which parallels the Giluim of L'Yasad Lavi. Harekiv and Yesh Bezez Chalkas, there's different types. Lachein, therefore, Magiyim Lazeh, we're able to reach it. Because it's a complex pleasure. It's a pleasure that's complicated by the specific flavor of that mitzvah. Even though the fact is, and this is just a statement of fact, that a complex pleasure can raise a person to a simple pleasure, and doesn't explain why, it doesn't explain how, it just states a fact. And there's no numbers, there's no amount of makamis, right? Usually, like the Rebbe said once, the shver amount of makamis are missing. Since it comes Tanega Murkiv, so even the Tanega Poshet is Murkiv, like Primis Abba Primis Atik in the last Shir of yesterday, the end of yesterday's Shir. But I started today to tell you for 15 minutes that I don't understand the difference. So he repeats it again. So Yid does a mitzvah with a kavana, and it gives him a certain delight. It's called Tanega Murkiv. The pleasure is riding on the meaning. Each mitzvah is a different meaning, each pleasure is a different pleasure. From the pleasure which comes from the meaning, you can come to a pleasure which is of a specific meaning, but it's indirectly connected. It's not with the plainness of atzmos. That means God does He exist by Himself, in Himself, with Himself, for Himself, to Himself, mamish. Mashenkin became a mitzvah with a Kabbalah sale, as opposed to He does a mitzvah with a Kabbalah sale. You touch God. In Tefillah you touch God. In a mezuzah you touch God. In a shtikel achala you touch God. In a kazayis matzah you touch God. In the walls of a sukkah you touch God. In the lulav and an esek you touch God. Like it says in Chazal, it's brought in Rashi and Pashas Vayikra Nachas Ruch Lefana. It gives me great delight. Shamarti, that I spoke. V'naseh etzeni, and what I wanted happened. The Pirush Naseh etzeni, who the meaning of the words "my will was carried out" is Shaydei Kiyam mitzvahs. When we do what we're told, Naseh es vert uvgitan, we create in Yerushalayim. Not that we do what He wanted, but by doing what He said, we're creating the want, including Ratzon HaMuchat, even creating a Ratzon of Hechlet, which is Tzarachi and God. The reason is because even though mitzvahs start from Ratzon HaMuchlat, when we do them, we go even higher than Ratzon HaMuchlat to what's called Atzmas Mamish. Ratzon HaMuchlat is the mashal of the Rav Talmud in his personality, remember. And we're saying that that's still Giluyim. Like Havaya Sheba Atmas is still Giluyim, as we discussed yesterday and the day before. And Atmas is even higher than that. I just want to mention the Rebbe's Rashi Sikha on this. It's a gewaldige Sikha. It's a Rashi Sikha Vayikra. And the Nakuda is, why dafka by Karbonas do you say that Hashem gets pleasure from our mitzvahs? Any mitzvah gives Him pleasure. And the Rebbe gives a very, very simple answer, really very simple answer. And the answer that the Rebbe gives is that most people, when they do most things, have some reward. You do a good deed, you get some reward. Maybe you're not doing it for the reward. Maybe you're doing it just to do it. Okay, there's also a reward. Karbanas are distinct. The carbon goes up and doesn't come down. Oila, raza, the korban, oila, draza, the Ein Seif, the secret of Karbanas goes up to the Ein Seif and it doesn't come down. There's a ratzibali shuv. In other words, there's nothing in it for the person. Other mitzvahs do have something in it for the person, even if they're doing it for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch. Mashenken by Karbanas. That's why by Karbanas it says Naseh etzeni. And we read on. Vezehu gam mailas gaya de teira pnimis. This is why nigla is a maila b'chsidus. Why? Because nigla teaches halacha lemaise. And in Pasuk that says, Al Rebbe says in Tanya, that when you pass halacha lemaise, it's the same thing as an asiyah. The Rebbe says in Tanya, even a kavana of a mitzvah has to do with asiyah. And you get a kiddush in Mashkas Piyatz Chaim. When you're learning nigla, you're learning hamaisa shayasun ve'ela shaleisi asen of kim of mitzvahs ma'isa bepeil. This is atzmos. Chassidus, Kabbalah is richness. And in Gaiter is Atzmos. You're doing the Eibishter once. And the Rebbe says there's a mile in Atzmos over Giluyim. And as the Rebbe said in the first shir that I gave, that Nachas Ruach Shal HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Achshav. Kiyam HaMitzvahs. Nachas Ruach Shal Adam is Liyasit. And Liyasit is Giluyim, including Gilia Atzmos. And Achshav is Atzmos Mamish. Which is why the Chazal say, Ashrei Misha Balakan v'tamul libiyadu. Fortunate is he who comes here. Here means Teil Rabo with his Talmud, with his Torah with him. Talmud means Nigla. The true advantage of La'asid in the revelation of Pnimiyas HaTeira is Ayadei Limud Galia. You gotta learn Nigla, you gotta learn a Blat Gemara and a Din Shulchan Aruch. As we discussed yesterday, earlier today, the cause has to be greater than the effect, which teaches us that Galia the Teira is the Malam Pnimiyas HaTeira. Nigla is a high share of Chassidus. Al-Chassidish Rebbe is saying, the Chabad Rebbe is saying that Limud Nigla is hard Limud Nister. Why? Because it's not entertaining. It's not rich. It's doing the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Turn the page. 284. Now Rabbi said, yesterday I read almost the whole first paragraph. Right? Because I tried to put Moshe where he belonged. Right? The Rebbe brought Moshe twice. And in each case, the Rebbe brought Moshe Rabbeinu to make the point that Moshe is also Atma. So let's begin. Page 284, first paragraph. 3 lines from the end of the paragraph. So I'm not going back to Moshe. And again, what do we ever say about Moshe? Just like he said about Simcha Shal Mitzvah. There's two Moshes. The Moshe in terms of experience is lower than Mashiach. But the Moshe in turn that Zocha Shetinos and Teir Al Yodei, that Moshe gives us the mitzvahs, this is higher than Mashiach. And it's now because it's Atzah. Says the Rebbe, Simcha Shal Mitzvah. Let's go back to the Simcha Shal Mitzvah. Just like we know there's two in Yonim and Mitzvahs, Kavon and Loi Kavon, and like I explained to you before, that even though technically it's a Machlaikes, but Pnimis and Yonim, they're both true. The same is true when the person does a mitzvah with Simcha. Which is higher, the Kavona which comes from the Simcha, or the Etzem Asiyah which comes from the Simcha? And the answer is when the Simcha brings to the Kavona is higher than the Simcha. And when the Simcha brings to Asiyah with Kabbalah Sel, the Simcha is higher than the Kavona. One is having joy from the actual doing of the mitzvah. That's the highest thing. The mitzvah taste and ba'atzmus mamish through the mitzvah you hold atzmus, which is why it says sham nisvach habei bei ba'atzmusay. Now over here, sham nisvach habei shouldn't really be here because sham nisvach habei is lasid, and sham nisvach habei liyasid is giluyim. Here he's bringing sham nisvach habei for atzmus, but tzadach and God look at the kash. And there are a lot of Maimorim, by the way, including the Ner Chanukah Bem Gimel, which I've taught so many times, where the Rebbe says that Atzmos can only be revealed Liyasid Lavi. The Rebbe Rashab says Atzmos can only be Liyasid Lavi, and the way we reveal Atzmos and Ruchnius even now is through Simcha Shal Mitzvah. As if Simcha Shal Mitzvah is two opposites. Siv Zayin Omnam. Even though Shadi Avedid Limud Galia the Teira. Even though when a person learns Nigla, the key, even the Kabbalah Sel does, the Kabbalah Sel take from Ba'atzmos, he touching Nebush to himself. Mikol Mokam Achshav Harezeh Behelim. It's taka true that Kabbalah Seil and Simcha Shel Mitzvah and Mitzvah Tzichas Kavana touches Atzmos. But you don't feel Atzmos. Now you don't feel anything. Any kind of experience a person has now in terms of his relationship with the Eibishter based on doing what the Eibishter said, it's one or two ways. If you're feeling it, it's not Atzmos, and if it's Atzmos, you're not feeling it. Number one, you're not experiencing Atzmos. Because you're experiencing it, so it's less than Atmos. It's like Gilu Hiberachelimus. And if it's Atmos, it's Takesh, Gilu, Lamaylam Yelimus, but will Ainz and Nimshel Optimus, and you can't feel it. As it happened when the Abish split the sea in ancient times. The after B'tzias Mitzrayim Ha'Gilur Ma'Yesa, now when the Abish split the sea, with kind of the highest revelations. To the extent that Hashem himself redeemed us, especially in Kriyas Yamsuf. Nevertheless, the revelations and were unilateral from the Eibush that the true Giluyim is not going to be till Mashiach comes. But Kriyas Yamsuf was a shtikel Giluy, but there was no Keli for the Giluy. Lost love, there's going to be a maximum Giluy because we're going to be Kalim for the Giluy. The time that we associate with the idea that godliness is revealed and is enriching the life of people as the Mashiach comes. Like it says about the revelation of Chassidus, of Pnimis, the face of Ted after Mashiach comes. It's going to be from the level of Yechida and Pnimis Atik. And then the Rebbe says 3 lines from the bottom, the way Mashiach is going to teach us Ted. So he says 3 things. It's Yechida, it's Pnimius Atik, and it's Riyah and Gili HaMahus. Now I want you to know, I struggle with this, and I've struggled with this before, but I think the Rebbe is brainwashing me. According to Kabbalah, Riyah is Chayas, not Yechida. Here, the Iya is even higher than Yechida and higher than Atik. He's using the Iya as a Gil HaMahus. Gil HaMahus of the Iya is only by Nevuah, which is the Madreg of Yechida. And the Rebbe is saying the whole Asag of all Yidden of Teira Lasad Love is going to be in that Madreg of Mahus, of Nevuah. So Lachain Yochel Lilmit Ish Echad Imalafim. How is one man going to teach thousands? Is going to show us. And this is really the part which gets difficult. That Arizal writes. The Arizal's Talmud writes. The Shabbos. He was laid down for a nap and he had a vision, and he saw on one Shabbos afternoon. It would have taken him 80 years to speak. Now, but Pashtus, this is only Chai. It's only Giluyim. Because it will be Atzmos, 1,000 years won't be enough. But clearly the Rebbe is using this Arizal as a dogma for Ri of Yechidah, not a Ri of Chai. So even though Bepashtos, that Ri is even a Sogim, hard and Seichel into Seichel, it means Atzmos, and this seems to be a constant in the Rebbe's teachings, and Tzarech Bir, I need to think about it. If the Arizal already achieved this, for sure after Mashiach comes, be a level of Ri, which is Mamash the Madreg of Yechidah. You say them so even higher than Yes, which costs a Bakamach to Tel Aviv from Shalamai, which is the from Reach. And he brings the Pasuk Varicha B'Yeres Hashem. So he says, La'ased love, there's going to be Yechidah. There's going to be Pnimi Asatik. There's going to be Yes Hamahus, which he's arguing is higher even than Pnimi Asatik. And there's going to be Reach, which is even higher than that. Do I understand this? Not at all. But now go to the other side. Omnam, 6 lines from the end. La'achere calls it, notwithstanding that Liyasad Lavid is going to be all these incredible Giluyim, right? Before the Rebbe said Gan Eden and B'yas HaMashiach and Triyas HaMeisim and Ein La Menucha and Yem Yiksul Shabbos HaMenucha. Here he said Yechida, Pnimius Atek, Yiriyas, V'gil HaMahus, and the Inyan of Reach, and I don't understand this at all. These are very important discussions which are Ein Kan HaMokim L'Harech Bazeh. Says the Rebbe, Ga Min Reach, Ein Etzem Mamish, even smells like it. We do physical mitzvahs practically in this world. That is atzmas. Atzmas mamish. We touch, we hold atzmas. Now it's hidden. And the atzmas which we draw down, is going to be revealed. Only the gili of atzmas. This is the conclusion. Now we're Mamshech Atzmos, Los Lovagiri Megala Atzmos, and the Gilia Atzmos is less than Atzmos. The argument is there's always something which is unrevealable. And we finished the Maimer. 2 Maimorim, 8 classes. God should forgive me. I'm exhausted. They were hard. I'm looking forward to the next Maimer. I don't know. I prepared the copies. I didn't yet edit. I don't know if it's easy or hard. And if you say the Shmaya that we should learn and teach. I mean, B'kadash Shem Shemayim Barabim and B'zeichet the Regula Shleima take it from Yad. I will 9:30 is the regular Sichas class Thursday night. There's no Fabrengen tonight because I Fabrengen like There will be a Shir tomorrow at noon in Sichas.